Supreme Commander Vecthar stood before the observation window of his warship, gazing at the swirling colors of hyperspace. His massive form cast long shadows across the command deck. The crystalline armor that covered his reptilian body caught the light and scattered it in 1,000 directions. He was a Kaldrith, one of the ancient masters of the galaxy, and nothing in the universe had ever made him afraid. The Kaldrith Dominion had ruled for 50,000 years. They had conquered worlds beyond counting. They had faced creatures with acid blood, beings made of living fire, and machines that could tear apart planets. None of it mattered. The Kaldrith always won because they knew no fear. Their biology made them perfect warriors. Multiple hearts pumped their blood. Backup organs could take over if the primary ones failed. And their minds simply did not understand the concept of being afraid. "Commander," said Science Officer Thelkor, approaching with a data tablet. "We have completed the analysis of the new species." Vecthar turned his massive head, his eyes cold and golden fixed on the smaller officer. "Tell me about these humans." Thelkor activated the holographic display. A small creature appeared, standing upright on 2 legs. It had no scales, no armor, no claws. Just soft skin and weak limbs. They call themselves humans, Thelkor explained. They come from a planet they call Earth. It orbits a yellow star in the outer regions of the galaxy. Our initial scans show they are extremely fragile. Their bones break easily. Their skin offers no protection. They have only 1 heart, 1 brain, 1 of every major organ. A single injury could kill them. Vecthar made a sound that resembled laughter. It was a deep rumbling noise that made the deck vibrate. "And these creatures have developed space travel?" "Yes, Commander. Primitive but functional. They have colonized 3 nearby systems." "Impressive for prey animals," Vecthar said. He studied the image of the human. "What is their military strength?" "Minimal by our standards." "They have no energy shielding technology. Their weapons are kinetic and chemical-based, very basic. They fight among themselves frequently, divided into many small groups called nations." Vecthar nodded slowly. This was always the same story. Every species the Kaldrith encountered was divided and weak. The Dominion would arrive, demonstrate their power, and the conquered species would submit. It was the natural order of the universe. The strong ruled the weak. "Send them the standard message," Vecthar ordered. "Tell them the Kaldrith Dominion has arrived. They will surrender their worlds and join the Empire. If they submit peacefully, they will be allowed to keep their basic freedoms. If they resist, they will be crushed." The communications officer sent the message. The entire bridge waited in silence. Minutes passed. Then the reply came. A human face appeared on the screen. It was a female with brown skin and dark eyes. She wore some kind of military uniform. Behind her, symbols and flags decorated the wall. "This is Secretary General Amara Okafor of the United Earth Coalition," the human said. Her voice was calm but firm. "We have received your message." "Our answer is no." The bridge fell silent. Several officers looked at each other in confusion. No one said no to the Kaldrith. Vecthar stepped closer to the screen. "You do not understand. We are the Kaldrith Dominion. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. You cannot win against us," the human woman smiled. It was not a friendly expression. "Perhaps, but we will not surrender without a fight. If you want Earth, you will have to take it." The transmission ended. For a moment, Vecthar stood still. Then he turned to his officers. "They think they can resist. How amusing. Prepare the invasion fleet. We will take their homeworld first. When they see our power, they will beg to surrender." The Kaldrith war machine moved into action. 300 warships entered the Sol system. They were massive vessels, each one capable of destroying cities from orbit. The fleet arranged itself in a perfect formation around Earth. The blue and green planet hung in space, beautiful and defenseless. "Scan for defense platforms," Vecthar ordered. "We detect approximately 50 orbital defense stations," the tactical officer reported. "They are armed with missile systems and railguns. No energy weapons. Destroy them." The Kaldrith ships opened fire. Beams of superheated plasma lanced through space. One by one, the human defense stations exploded. It took less than an hour. The humans launched fighters and missiles, but they were like insects attacking a mountain. The Kaldrith shields absorbed everything. "The orbital space is clear, Commander," the tactical officer said. "Begin landing operations. Take their major cities. Show them the futility of resistance." Landing pods fell from the sky like meteors. They struck the surface of Earth across every continent. Kaldrith soldiers emerged, each one 3 meters tall and covered in armor that could withstand most weapons. They expected the humans to run, to hide, to surrender. Instead, the humans fought. They fought in the streets of their cities. They fought in the forests and mountains. They fought with guns and explosives and anything they could use as a weapon. It was pointless, of course. Kaldreth soldiers were superior in every way. A single Kaldreth could defeat 10 humans in direct combat. But the humans did not fight directly. Captain Zekmar led his unit through the ruins of a human city. Buildings were damaged, streets were empty. His soldiers moved in formation, scanning for enemies. Everything seemed quiet. Movement detected, one of his soldiers said. Ahead, in that structure. Zekmar signaled for his unit to advance. They approached the building carefully. It was a large structure made of concrete and glass. Many of its windows were broken. They entered through the main entrance. Inside, the building was dark. Their sensors showed heat signatures on the upper floors. Move up. Clear each level. The Kaldreth climbed the stairs. Their heavy footsteps echoed through the empty building. They reached the 3rd floor and kicked open a door. The room exploded. The blast was enormous. It collapsed part of the building and sent Kaldreth soldiers flying through the air. Zekmar found himself buried under rubble. He pushed the debris away and stood up. 3 of his soldiers were dead. 4 more were injured. Report, he growled into his communicator. It was a trap, Captain, one of his surviving soldiers said. The heat signatures were fake. They lured us here and detonated explosives. Zekmar looked around at the destruction. In 50,000 years of warfare, the Kaldreth had rarely encountered traps. They fought honorably face to face. These humans fought like cowards. But something else bothered him more. As he stood in the ruins, he felt something strange. It was an unfamiliar sensation in his chest, a tightness, a sense that something was wrong. He did not know what to call it. All across Earth, similar incidents occurred. Kaldreth patrols were ambushed. Convoys were destroyed by hidden explosives. Soldiers disappeared during night operations. The humans refused to face them in open battle. They struck from shadows and vanished before the Kaldreth could respond. Vekthar received the reports in his command ship. The invasion was succeeding, but slower than expected. More importantly, casualties were higher than any previous conquest. These humans are resourceful, Thelkor said. They compensate for their physical weakness with cunning. It does not matter, Vekthar replied. We will adapt. We will crush them. Fear is for prey species. We are Kaldreth. Nothing in this universe can make us afraid. But down on Earth, in the dark places between the ruins, humans watched the alien invaders. They watched and they planned. They had studied the Kaldreth carefully. They had learned something important. The Kaldreth had never known fear. And that was their greatest weakness. Lieutenant Drakman crouched behind a destroyed vehicle, listening to the night sounds of the human city. 3 weeks had passed since the invasion began. His unit had been assigned to patrol the ruins and eliminate any remaining human resistance. It should have been simple work. Instead, it had become something else entirely. The city was called Tokyo. It had once held millions of humans. Now it was empty, or so it seemed. But Drakman knew better. The humans were here. They were always here, watching from the shadows. Sir, motion detected at 200 meters, his scanner operator said. The soldier's voice carried a tremor that Drakman had never heard before. Fear was supposed to be impossible for the Kaldreth, but something was changing. Direction? North. Inside that tall building with the broken windows, Drakman studied the structure through his tactical visor. It was a dark tower half collapsed. Send the drone. A small flying machine launched from their position and buzzed toward the building. Its camera feed showed empty floors and debris. Then static. The drone signal disappeared. Equipment malfunction? Drakman asked. Unknown, sir. All systems showed normal until contact was lost. This had been happening more frequently. Drones disappeared. Sensors gave false readings. Equipment failed at critical moments. The humans had no technology that could explain it, yet it continued. We proceed on foot. Standard formation. The squad moved through the rubble-filled streets. Tokyo had been beautiful once, according to the intelligence reports. Now it was a maze of broken buildings and abandoned vehicles. The silence was wrong. Cities should have sounds, even dead ones. Wind should blow. Metal should creak. But Tokyo was quiet in a way that made Drakman's scales itch. They entered the building. The main floor was a large open space. Desks and chairs lay scattered everywhere. Papers covered the floor. Their boots crunched on broken glass. Clear, one soldier reported. They moved to the stairwell. The stairs climbed up into darkness. Their helmet lights cut through the gloom, but somehow the darkness seemed to push back. On the third floor, they found something. It was a Caldrith helmet, sitting in the middle of a hallway. Nothing else, just the helmet. That is from Sergeant Vokral's unit, one of the soldiers said. They went missing 4 days ago. Drakmin approached the helmet carefully. He scanned it for explosives. Nothing. He picked it up. The inside was stained with blood, but there was no body, no other equipment, just this single helmet placed deliberately in their path. This is a message, he said quietly. What kind of message, sir? Before Drakmin could answer, a sound echoed through the building. It started low, almost below hearing. Then it grew louder. It was a human voice, but it did not sound human. It sounded wrong. The voice screamed and laughed and wept all at once. It came from the walls themselves, amplified through hidden speakers. His soldiers raised their weapons, spinning in circles trying to find the source. Just sounds, Drakmin said, trying to keep his voice steady. Ignore it. They are trying to disturb us, but the sounds grew worse. Now there were many voices. Some whispered in the Caldrith language, speaking words they should not know. Others made inhuman noises that seemed designed to cause discomfort. Sir, I do not like this, one soldier said. His weapon wavered. Stand firm, Drakmin ordered. But even as he spoke, he felt it. That same sensation from before. The tightness in his chest, the urge to leave this place, to run. The lights went out. Their helmet lights provided some illumination, but now the darkness seemed alive. Shadows moved at the edge of their vision. Shapes appeared and vanished. Contact. A soldier shouted and opened fire. His weapon lit up the hallway with plasma bolts. They struck nothing but walls. Cease fire, Drakmin commanded. You are wasting ammunition on shadows. Then the screaming started again, but closer. Right behind them. The squad spun around. In the doorway stood a figure. It was human-sized but wore some kind of armor. The armor was black and covered with strange symbols. The helmet had no face, just a smooth, reflective surface that showed their own frightened expressions back at them. The figure did not attack. It simply stood there watching them. One of Drakmin's soldiers fired. The plasma bolt struck the figure directly. When the light faded, the figure was gone. No body. No scorch marks, nothing. We are leaving, Drakmin said. Now. The squad retreated down the stairs, moving faster than proper military discipline allowed. They emerged onto the street and did not stop running until they reached their fortified position 3 blocks away. In the safety of their base, Drakmin filed his report. He tried to make it sound professional, but the words felt inadequate. How could he describe what they had experienced? The Caldrith language had no proper words for it. Similar reports came from all across Earth. Caldrith patrols encountered impossible situations. They found their missing comrades, but not in ways that made sense. Bodies were arranged in patterns. Equipment was displayed as warnings. And always, there were the sounds and the shadows and the growing sense that something was watching them. Command sent psychologists to interview the soldiers. The Caldrith had never needed psychologists before. Their species did not suffer from mental illness. They did not have nightmares or anxiety. But now soldiers reported strange dreams. They woke in the night hearing sounds that were not there. They saw movement in their peripheral vision that vanished when they looked directly at it. The humans are using psychological warfare, the chief psychologist reported to Commander Vekthar. They have studied our biology and behavior. They know we have never experienced fear, so they are teaching us what it means. Vekthar struck his fist against the armrest of his command chair. Then our soldiers must be stronger. Fear is weakness. We are Caldrith. We do not break. But the reports continued. A patrol in the human city of Mumbai found their vehicles surrounded by thousands of small speakers. When they tried to leave, the speakers activated, broadcasting sounds that caused pain to Caldrith hearing. The soldiers abandoned their vehicles and fled on foot. In New York, a squad investigating an underground facility became lost in tunnels that seemed to shift and change. They wandered for 2 days before finding an exit. When they emerged, they found they had been walking in circles beneath the same building the entire time. In Beijing, soldiers reported seeing a Caldrith warrior who could not exist. He wore ancient armor from 10,000 years ago. He appeared at night and watched them from a distance. When they pursued him, he vanished. Recordings showed nothing. Sensors detected nothing, but dozens of soldiers swore they had seen him. The worst incident occurred in Australia. An entire company of Caldrith soldiers, 200 warriors, entered the human city of Sydney. They established a base in a large building near the water. On the third night, their communications went silent. A rescue force found the building empty. Every soldier was gone. There were no signs of battle. No blood, no bodies. Just empty rooms and abandoned equipment. In the command center, they found a message written on the wall in Caldrith script. It said, "You wanted to know what humans are capable of. Now you are learning." Below the message was a single word in human English. Boo. Vekthar stared at the intelligence report for a long time. 200 of his soldiers had simply vanished. The humans had taken them without a trace. No species had ever accomplished such a thing against the Caldrith. "What does this word mean?" he asked his human language specialist. "This boo?" The specialist consulted his database. "It is a human word, Commander. It is the sound they make when they want to startle someone, when they want to cause fear." Vekthar crushed the data tablet in his massive hand. The metal crumpled like paper. "They are testing us," he said quietly. "They want to see if they can make us afraid. Can they, Commander?" Thelkor asked. Vekthar did not answer. He looked out at Earth, hanging in space. The blue planet seemed peaceful and beautiful, but he was beginning to understand that appearances were deceiving. The humans had shown no fear of the Caldrith. Instead, they were trying to teach fear to those who had never known it. And slowly, impossibly, it was working. The war entered its third month, and Commander Vekthar realized something terrible. The humans were not trying to win battles. They were trying to do something far worse. He studied the tactical displays in his ready room. The Caldrith Dominion controlled most of Earth's major cities. They had destroyed the human military installations. By every measure, the invasion was succeeding. Yet his forces were falling apart. Casualties were acceptable by the numbers. The Caldrith had lost perhaps 5% of their invasion force. But it was the manner of those losses that disturbed him. Soldiers did not die in battle. They disappeared. They went mad. They refused to leave their bases. 3 officers had requested to be sent home, something that had never happened in Caldrith military history. A chime announced a visitor. "Enter," Vekthar said. Captain Zekmar walked in. The officer looked thinner than before. His scales had lost their shine. His eyes moved constantly as if expecting attack. "You wish to see me, Commander? I want to understand what is happening to my soldiers," Vekthar said. "You have spent time on the surface. Tell me what you have seen." Zekmar was silent for a moment. Then he spoke. "The humans are not fighting us, Commander. They are hunting us. There is a difference." "Explain." "When we conquer a world, the natives fight to defend their territory. They try to drive us away. But the humans are different. They do not care about territory. They care about breaking us. Every action they take is designed to create maximum psychological impact with minimum military value." Zekmar activated a holographic display. It showed footage from various incidents. "Look at this." In Paris, they filled an entire district with mannequins dressed in Caldrith armor. Our soldiers walked through streets lined with these fake warriors. It served no military purpose. It was simply designed to create unease. Another image appeared. In Cairo, they broadcast the sound of Caldrith death cries through the city every night at the same time. Our soldiers began to dread that hour. More images followed. Each one showed a different form of harassment, misdirection, or psychological manipulation. "They are teaching us to be afraid," Zekmar said. "And, Commander, I think they are succeeding." Before Vekthar could respond, an urgent communication came through. "Commander, we are receiving a message from human leadership. They are requesting a meeting." "A surrender?" Vekthar asked. "Unknown, sir. They are asking to discuss peace terms," Vekthar considered. Perhaps the humans finally understood they could not win. "Where do they want to meet?" "They have suggested neutral ground. An island in the Pacific Ocean. They say it is uninhabited and easily secured. Prepare a diplomatic team. Have Prince Kethral lead it. He has experience in accepting surrenders. Take a full security detail." 2 days later, Prince Kethral and 50 Caldrith soldiers landed on a small tropical island. The beaches were white sand. Palm trees swayed in the breeze. It seemed peaceful. The humans had already arrived. Their delegation numbered only 10 people. They stood near a simple table under a tent. Secretary General Okafor was there along with several military officers. Prince Kethral approached confidently. He was young for a Kaldrith royal, only 800 years old. He wore ceremonial armor that marked his status. "I am Prince Kethral of the Kaldrith Dominion. We are here to accept your surrender." Okafor smiled that same cold smile she had shown before. "We are not surrendering, Prince. We wanted to show you something," she gestured. The humans at the table stepped back. That was when Kethral realized the tent was not empty. Hidden beneath the table, explosives had been placed. But more than that, the entire beach was a trap. His security team shouted warnings, but it was too late. Explosions erupted from beneath the sand. Kaldrith soldiers fell, their armor unable to save them. The prince's personal shield activated, protecting him from the initial blast. He tried to run, but humans emerged from concealed positions. They were not using normal weapons. They used some kind of sticky compound that hardened instantly, trapping his legs. He fell to the sand, immobilized. His guards were dead or dying around him. The humans approached slowly. They carried cameras recording everything. Kethral struggled against the bonds, but they would not break. For the first time in his long life, he felt completely helpless, vulnerable. The humans stood over him, and he saw something in their eyes. Not hatred. Not anger. Something colder. They looked at him the way he had always looked at lesser species, like prey. Okafor knelt beside him. "Prince Kethral, I want you to understand something. Your people think fear is weakness, but fear is what kept our ancestors alive when predators hunted them. Fear is what made us clever. Fear is what drove us to create weapons and tools and civilization. You have never known fear, so you never learned to master it." She stood up. "We are going to teach you what fear means. And we are going to show your people what happens when you make humans afraid. We do not run from fear. We become it." The humans moved out of camera view. Kethral was alone with the recording devices. He tried to remain calm to show Kaldrith's strength. But as minutes became hours, and the sun beat down on him, and he remained helpless on the beach, something changed inside him. The broadcast reached every Kaldrith ship and base in the system. They watched as Prince Kethral, one of their nobles, lay trapped and helpless. They heard his breathing become rapid. They saw his scales change color with stress. They witnessed the moment when the prince, bred from the strongest warrior lineage in Kaldrith history, began to beg. The transmission lasted 6 hours before it ended. The humans released Kethral alive and returned him to the Kaldrith. He was physically unharmed. Mentally, he was destroyed. He could not speak. He could not meet anyone's eyes. The royal prince, who had never known fear, now could not stop shaking. But the humans were not finished. They began broadcasting new material to every Kaldrith device they could reach. Not military intelligence, not propaganda, entertainment. They sent movies, stories, historical records, everything humanity had created about fear and horror and terror. Kaldrith soldiers watched films about humans hunting each other. They saw documentaries about human serial killers who murdered for pleasure. They read accounts of human wars where entire populations were slaughtered. They learned about human torture methods refined over thousands of years of practice. The Kaldrith had always believed they were the predators of the galaxy. Now they learned what apex predators really looked like. Humans had evolved on a death world. They had climbed to the top of the food chain not through strength or armor, but through intelligence and ruthlessness. They had survived by being more dangerous than everything that tried to kill them. Vekthar ordered his officers to block the transmissions, but it was too late. The information had already spread through the fleet. Soldiers discussed it in quiet voices. They shared the stories. They wondered if the humans were really capable of such cruelty. Then the humans began their next phase. Kaldrith ships started reporting strange sensor readings. Vessels appeared at the edge of their detection range and then vanished. At first, the Kaldrith thought it was sensor glitches. Then they realized the truth. Human ships were following them, tracking them, not attacking, just watching. A Kaldrith patrol cruiser detected a human vessel on its scanners. The captain ordered his ship to pursue. They chased the human ship for 3 hours through the outer system. Every time they got close, the human ship would accelerate away. The Kaldrith ship followed, determined to catch it. Finally, they cornered the human ship near an asteroid field. The Kaldrith captain ordered weapons to fire. The human ship exploded beautifully, debris scattering in all directions. The Kaldrith crew celebrated. They had finally killed some humans in direct combat. Then their sensors detected movement. Behind them, around them, everywhere. 30 human ships decloaked surrounding the Kaldrith cruiser. They had been there the entire time. The single human ship had been bait. The human ships did not fire. They just sat there, weapons pointed at the Kaldrith cruiser. For 10 minutes, nothing happened. The Kaldrith crew waited for death. Then the human ships turned and left. They jumped to hyperspace and disappeared. The Kaldrith captain filed his report with shaking hands. The humans could have destroyed them. Instead, they chose to let them live. To let them know they had been completely at their mercy. Similar incidents occurred across the theater. Human forces appeared and vanished. They struck at unexpected times and places. They never committed to major battles. They simply proved again and again that they could reach the Kaldrith whenever they wished. Vekthar received reports of declining morale. Soldiers refused to go on patrol. Some requested to be placed in the brig rather than return to Earth's surface. Medical officers reported a new phenomenon: Kaldrith warriors having nightmares. The concept had not existed in their species before. A delegation of his senior officers requested a private meeting. They filed into his ready room, and Vekthar saw something in their faces that shocked him. Doubt. "Commander," Fleet Admiral Troxon said carefully, "we must consider the possibility that this war cannot be won." "We have overwhelming superiority," Vekthar replied. "In ships and weapons, yes. But the humans are not fighting that kind of war. They are fighting here." Troxon touched his head. "In our minds. And we have no defense against that." 6 months into the war, the Kaldrith Dominion was breaking apart from the inside. Commander Vekthar stood in the medical bay of his flagship, looking at rows of soldiers who had not been wounded in combat. They sat on beds staring at nothing. Some rocked back and forth. Others whispered to themselves. The chief medical officer had called it acute stress reaction, a condition that should not exist in Kaldrith physiology. "How many?" Vekthar asked. 3,000 across the fleet, the doctor replied. "And the number grows daily." "Commander, we have no treatment protocols for this. Our people have never experienced psychological trauma before. We do not know how to help them." Vekthar moved through the bay. He stopped beside a young soldier who had been found wandering the corridors of his ship, claiming that humans were hiding in the walls. Medical scans showed nothing wrong with him physically, yet he could not return to duty. "They are always watching," the soldier mumbled. "Even when you cannot see them. They are there, in the dark places, in the quiet moments. They never stop watching." The soldier looked up at Vekthar with eyes that had seen too much. "Commander, we should not have come here. These humans, they are not like other species. There is something wrong with them. Something broken. And now that brokenness is inside us too." Vekthar left the medical bay feeling older than his 2,000 years. He had fought in hundreds of battles, conquered dozens of worlds. He had never retreated, never doubted. But now, for the first time, he wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. The humans had escalated their operations. They no longer limited themselves to military targets. Now they attacked Kaldrith psychology on every front. On Earth, they coordinated what they called nightmare events across multiple cities simultaneously. In London, every electronic screen activated at midnight showing disturbing images and sounds. Kaldrith soldiers found themselves surrounded by thousands of monitors displaying eyes, just eyes watching them. The soldiers could destroy the screens, but more would activate. The eyes followed them everywhere for 3 straight days before the broadcasts stopped. In Moscow, the humans somehow made the city completely dark. Every light went out. Emergency systems failed. The Kaldrith soldiers found themselves in absolute darkness for 12 hours. Their equipment worked, but the darkness seemed to resist their lights, swallowing the beams. In that darkness, soldiers reported hearing things, feeling things, presences that brushed against them and then vanished. In Delhi, the humans used sound, not the screams and cries they had employed before, but something worse. Silence. Complete and total silence. Every sound the Kaldrith made was absorbed somehow. Soldiers could not hear their own footsteps. They could not hear their own breathing. The absence of sound proved more disturbing than any noise. Several soldiers went mad from it. These events had no military value. They did not capture territory or destroy equipment. They existed solely to prove that humans could reach into Kaldrith minds and twist them. But the worst attacks came not on the battlefield, but in the quiet moments. Kaldrith soldiers began receiving personal messages. They would wake to find a message on their personal terminal, addressed to them by name. The messages contained information they should not have. Details about their families back home, information about their private lives, memories they had never shared. One soldier received a message that said, "Your mate is worried about you. She fears you will not return. We know where she is. We know where your children are. Sleep well." The message contained nothing threatening. It simply proved that humans knew everything. They could reach anywhere. No one was safe. The psychological operations reached a new level of sophistication. Human infiltrators, using technology the Kaldrith could not detect, began appearing on Kaldrith ships. Not in person, but as holograms, projections, ghosts. A soldier would glimpse a human figure in a corridor. When they investigated, nothing would be there. Security footage showed nothing. Sensors detected nothing, but dozens of witnesses swore they had seen something. The most disturbing reports came from the capital ships. Several bridge officers reported seeing the same human repeatedly. She was a woman wearing a black uniform. She never spoke. She simply appeared, watched for a moment, and then vanished. The sightings always occurred at night, during low activity periods. The woman appeared behind consoles in doorways reflected in screens. They called her the Observer. Some soldiers believed she was real. Others thought she was a mass hallucination. A few wondered if the humans had developed technology so advanced it appeared magical. Vekthar did not believe in ghosts. But when he saw the woman himself, standing in his ready room at 3 a.m, he came close to believing in something impossible. She stood by his window looking out at the stars. When he turned to look directly at her, she was gone. But he could have sworn she smiled before vanishing. Back on Earth, the human resistance revealed new tactics. They began releasing captured Kaldrith soldiers. At first, this seemed merciful. Then the released soldiers returned to their units and began spreading stories. They spoke of the places where humans kept prisoners. Dark facilities where Kaldrith warriors were not tortured but studied. The humans wanted to understand Kaldrith psychology completely. They ran experiments. Not painful ones, but disturbing nonetheless. They would place a Kaldrith in a room and then make him believe things that were not real. They manipulated perception, creating false realities that felt completely real. One released soldier claimed he had spent 3 months in captivity. The humans had made him experience scenarios designed to create specific emotions, fear certainly, but also uncertainty, dread, paranoia. When they released him, they gave him a message to deliver. "They said to tell you this," the soldier reported to his commanders. "They said, we could have killed you all by now. We have chosen not to. We want you to understand what it means to be truly afraid. Because fear is a gift. It teaches wisdom. And you have never learned that lesson." The Dominion's client species, the civilizations that had submitted to Kaldrith rule, watched with growing interest. For 50,000 years, these species had served the Kaldrith because resistance was impossible. The Kaldrith were invincible. Now they were not. Rebellions began on the frontier worlds, small at first, easily suppressed. But the mere fact of rebellion was significant. The client species sensed weakness. The Kaldrith reputation for invincibility was cracking. Vekthar received reports of uprisings on 7 different worlds. He did not have forces to spare. Every soldier was needed for the Earth campaign. The humans had trapped him. He could not withdraw from Earth without appearing weak. But he could not win on Earth either. In desperation, he authorized the use of heavier weapons. Kinetic bombardment platforms were moved into position over major human population centers. The message was clear: surrender or millions will die. The humans responded with a video message. Secretary General Okafor appeared on every screen in the Kaldrith fleet. "Commander Vekthar," she said, her voice calm, "you believe you can frighten us with threats of death. You do not understand humans. We have always lived with death. It does not scare us the way you think, but we know what scares you now. You are afraid of the dark. You are afraid of being watched. You are afraid of uncertainty. These are the gifts we have given you." She leaned forward, looking directly into the camera. "If you use those weapons, we will not surrender. Instead, we will show you what humans become when they have nothing left to lose. We will board your ships. We will hunt every one of you. We will turn this war into a nightmare that will haunt your species for the rest of your existence. You think you have seen what we are capable of? You have seen nothing, but we offer you an alternative. End this war, go home. Live with the fear we have taught you. Let it make you wiser. Because the universe is full of species who can teach you much harder lessons than we have. Vecthar watched the message 3 times. Then he did something no Kaldrith commander had ever done. He called a council of war and spoke words that felt like poison on his tongue. We cannot win this war. His officers sat in stunned silence. The humans are not trying to defeat us militarily, he continued. They are trying to change us, to break something fundamental in our nature, and they are succeeding. Our soldiers are traumatized. Our fleet is compromised. Our empire is beginning to fracture. If we continue, we will destroy ourselves. Fleet Admiral Truxon spoke carefully. Are you suggesting retreat, Commander? I am suggesting survival, Vecthar replied. The humans have taught us something we never knew. Fear is not just an emotion, it is a weapon, and we have no defense against it. In the darkness of space, human ships continued their silent vigil. They watched the Kaldrith fleet. They waited. They had proven their point. The fearless Kaldrith had learned to be afraid. And that changed everything. The message arrived on an encrypted channel, sent directly to Commander Vecthar's flagship. It was brief. We are willing to discuss terms. Come to Earth, come alone. We promise your safety. Vecthar stared at the message for a long time. A month ago, he would have laughed at the suggestion. The mighty Kaldrith commander going alone into enemy territory? Impossible, foolish, but that was before. Before he learned what fear meant. Before his empire began to crumble. Before he understood that pride was a luxury he could no longer afford. He went. The shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere without incident. Human fighters escorted him but did not threaten. They guided him to a landing site in what had once been called Geneva. The city was damaged but not destroyed. Humans worked in the streets, rebuilding. Secretary General Okafor waited for him in a simple building. She stood as he entered, showing respect but not fear. 2 human soldiers flanked her, but their weapons were lowered. Commander Vecthar, she said. Thank you for coming. Vecthar towered over her, but somehow he did not feel larger. I am here to discuss the end of this war. Please sit. She gestured to a chair that had been modified to support his weight. He sat and she sat across from him. A small table separated them. On it was a simple pitcher of water and 2 cups. I will be direct, Okafor said. We want this war to end. We never wanted it to begin. But you came to our world with demands. You thought we would submit because we are weaker. You were wrong about what strength means. Your species has proven formidable, Vecthar admitted. The words hurt, but they were true. You fight in ways we never anticipated. We fight to survive, Okafor replied. That is what humans do. We are not the strongest or the fastest. We do not have natural armor or multiple hearts. But we are adaptable, we learn. And most importantly, we understand fear. It has always been our companion. She poured water into both cups. Your species never knew fear. You thought that made you superior. But fear is not weakness, Commander. Fear is wisdom. It tells you when danger is real. It makes you cautious. It keeps you alive. You never learned that lesson, so you never learned to be truly brave. Brave? Vecthar's voice carried confusion. You say we are not brave? Bravery is not the absence of fear, Okafor said. Bravery is acting despite fear. Your soldiers charge into battle because they do not understand the danger. That is not courage. That is ignorance. Humans charge into battle knowing we might die, knowing we are afraid and choosing to fight anyway. That is the difference. Vecthar was silent, processing her words. He had never considered this perspective. In Kaldrith culture, fear was always weakness. But perhaps the humans were right. Perhaps there was wisdom in knowing when to be afraid. What are your terms? He asked. First, immediate withdrawal of all Kaldrith forces from Earth and its colonies. Second, reparations for the damage caused. Third, and most important, a fundamental change in how the Kaldrith Dominion operates. You want us to surrender our empire, Vecthar said. No, we want you to evolve beyond it. Your empire is built on conquest and domination. That model is outdated and cruel. We want you to offer your client species a choice. They can remain part of the Dominion as partners, or they can leave peacefully. No more forced subjugation. Vecthar felt anger rise. You ask us to give up everything we have built over 50,000 years? I ask you to build something better, Okafor replied. The galaxy is changing, Commander. Species are learning to work together instead of conquering each other. Humanity will be part of that change. You can join us or you can be left behind. But if you choose to continue as you have been, we will oppose you. And we have proven that we can hurt you. The truth of her words settled on Vecthar like a weight. His empire was already fragmenting. His soldiers were broken. The humans had defeated the Kaldreth without winning a single major battle. They had simply changed the rules of warfare. If we accept, he said slowly, what happens to us? To the Kaldreth? You become something new, Okafor said. We are willing to help. Human psychologists and philosophers can teach your people how to process fear, how to live with it instead of being controlled by it. It will not be easy. Your entire culture will need to change. But on the other side of that change, you will be stronger than before. You will have real courage instead of false fearlessness. She leaned forward. Commander, humanity does not want to be your enemy. We want to live in a galaxy where different species respect each other, where cooperation is valued more than conquest. Help us build that galaxy. Use your military strength to protect instead of subjugate. Become defenders instead of conquerors. Vecthar thought of his soldiers in the medical bay, broken by experiences they could not understand. He thought of Prince Kethral, still unable to function after his ordeal. He thought of his own sleepless nights jumping at shadows. The humans had not destroyed the Kaldreth. They had changed them, and perhaps that change could lead to something better. I will need to consult with the High Council, he said. Of course, we are patient. But Commander, understand this. Peace is possible, but it requires both sides to choose it. We have shown you we can fight. Now we are showing you we can negotiate. The choice is yours. The negotiations took 3 months. The Kaldreth High Council resisted at first, proud warriors unwilling to admit defeat. But reports from the front lines told the truth they could not deny. The Dominion was collapsing. Client species were rebelling. Soldiers were deserting. The mighty empire was dying. In the end, they accepted Earth's terms. The withdrawal began. Kaldreth ships left Earth's orbit in formation, their weapons powered down. Human forces watched but did not pursue. There were no celebrations, no victory parades. Just the quiet acknowledgement that something fundamental had shifted in the galaxy. On Earth, reconstruction began. The war had been relatively short, but the damage was real. Humans buried their dead and rebuilt their cities. But they also prepared. The galaxy now knew what humanity was capable of. That knowledge was its own form of weapon. As promised, human experts traveled to the Kaldreth homeworld. Psychologists, sociologists, philosophers. They came not as conquerors, but as teachers. The work was difficult. Kaldreth culture had to be rebuilt from its foundation. Warriors had to learn that feeling fear did not make them weak. Generals had to understand that retreat was sometimes wiser than attack. The process took years. Some Kaldreth adapted quickly, embracing the new understanding. Others struggled, unable to accept that their entire worldview had been wrong. But slowly, painfully, the Dominion transformed. Client species were offered freedom. Some chose to leave, establishing independent governments. Others chose to stay, but as partners rather than subjects. The Dominion became a federation, held together by mutual benefit rather than fear. Commander Vecthar, now retired from military service, worked closely with the human advisors. He had become an advocate for change, using his influence to help his people understand the lessons Earth had taught. 10 years after the war ended, he stood before a gathering of young Kaldreth warriors. They looked at him with respect, these new soldiers who would never know the old ways. My students, he said, I am going to teach you something your ancestors did not know. I am going to teach you about fear. The young warriors listened as he spoke. He told them about the war with Earth, about how the humans had broken the invincible Kaldreth, about the lessons learned in defeat. Fear is not your enemy, he said. Fear is a tool. It warns you of danger. It makes you think before acting. It is the foundation of wisdom. Learn to recognize fear. Learn to work with it. And when necessary, learn to act despite it. That is true courage. Meanwhile, in the wider galaxy, other species watched and learned. The story spread. The mighty Kaldreth, conquerors of 1,000 worlds, had been humbled by a species of small, fragile creatures. The humans had done it not with superior weapons, but with superior understanding of psychology and warfare. When the aggressive Zelnari Empire considered expanding into human space, they accessed the Kaldreth war archives. They studied the reports. They watched the footage. They read the psychological assessments. They chose to send diplomats instead of warships. Other species made similar calculations. Humanity had proven they could defend themselves. More importantly, they had proven they understood warfare at a level that transcended simple military strength. They knew how to break an enemy's will without destroying their armies. The galaxy developed a new classification for humanity. In the databases of 100 different species, humans were marked with the same designation: species classification, nightmare. Approach with extreme caution. Do not provoke, but humans did not want to be nightmares. They wanted to be partners, friends, allies. They extended hands in peace to those who approached peacefully. They shared their knowledge, their art, their philosophy. They helped build the foundations of a new galactic community based on cooperation. But they also maintained their defenses. They never forgot the lessons of their own history. They knew that peace was only possible when potential aggressors understood the cost of war. 20 years after the Earth-Kaldrith War, Secretary General Okafor, now much older, stood before the United Galactic Assembly. Representatives from 50 species filled the hall, including a Kaldrith delegation led by Vecthar himself.